everybody, welcome in my vlog. This is a very empowering vlog and I will tell you in a moment why it is empowering. This vlog I would like to particularly dedicate to Ursula von der Leyen, which is President of EU Commission, the Sheryl Sandberg, which I will talk just in a minute, and Professor Mientje Lukkerat-Rovers. And this vlog will be a little bit different because I think it's a vlog which is about milestones for emerging female leaders, especially in the business ecosystem, but also in politics, in science, because all these three sectors are very tightly connected. So I am really happy to talk about this and give you some highlights of what really happened and what this milestone can mean. The 22nd of November, that's definitely the date to save for all the emerging leaders in business, female leaders, entrepreneurs. And let me first start where I, as an emerging leader, start to think about even before setting up my company, become the CEO, the owner, founder. I got in my hands while I was visiting MPIX, that's actually a network of Polish bookshops. And I was buying some book at the kassa, and then I got interest because I spot a book. This is actually Polish edition. It's Lean In Polish is Włącz się do gry for my Polish audience, listeners. So Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. You probably heard about her. She's been COO, so Chief Operating Officer in Facebook, working directly with Mark Zuckerberg. But also later on, she developed Lean In organization to empower women. And she's still CEO of other companies, but she's worldwide known, not only woman leader to follow, but also philanthropist, which set up a Lean In organization, which actually is serving to empower women. And especially in the chapter 2, she talks about not only get to the table, but take your place at the table. Because we women overall very often have low self-esteem in our competencies, in our leadership, decision-making talent, that we are always, when we are surrounded by the room, especially in this vlog, if you would imagine the room full of especially board of directors where majority is a man, you might feel, if you have very low self-esteem, you might feel overwhelmed, and you actually are not empowered at all. And very often what Sheryl actually said, women are doing it to themselves. I think that was important for me, her observations from her side, from the top in American ecosystem, to take a look. But that is happening worldwide, and I think that's why she set up Lean In organization to empower women, so that they will start to believe in themselves, and they will take the place at the table, especially in board of directors. And I think this is a person which, even before Ursula, was my great, and still is, a great woman, which I really would like to follow, and I truly admire her actions. So that is, I would say, very nice, maybe inspiring introduction. And now I'd like to actually switch to Zoom vlog, so that I can tell even more about women, which I recently discovered beside Ursula and Sheryl, Professor Dr. Manche Lukerat Rovers also helps here by actually providing all different analysis of women leadership in Dutch ecosystem, because I'm actually having started in Leiden Bioscience Park, so in Netherlands, so Dutch ecosystem and women leadership in Dutch environment is also of my strong interest. So I like to talk about this, but also in relation to other countries. And I would like to, in that case, tell you that getting women's rights was always been a battle. It's always been a gender gap, or financial, or requiring the same status in society, and gaining the same even voting rights, coming even from Marie Curie story, which was in a way tragic story. I would say, yes, we women always had to fight for rights, stand up for each other, not always standing always together, and I think that was our huge weakness. But now Ursula von der Leyen, 22nd of November, brought legal milestone which helps women to stand up, hopefully, not only by themselves, but also help other women, emerging leaders, to reach better positions in leadership worldwide. So if you would like to follow more about these details, because I think details always are important and are giving us bigger picture and better understanding of the process. So please stay tuned in.
Hello, everybody, again. Thank you for your patience. So I had to switch now here and take Zoom vlog from this, actually the same location in Leiden Bioscience Park, but with some window, which I think it gives also some symbolics on top of it. Window where we can have more opportunities, which we can search for leadership positions. Especially we gain more rights for leadership positions in a board of directors. So I talked about the 22nd of November, and Ursula von der Leyen actually put on Twitter information that finally the women maybe can crush the glass ceiling. So what exactly she meant is that large publicly listed companies in EU will need to increase the presence of women on their boards by July 2026. As after the EU Parliament passed, and that's really the milestone, passed legislation to introduce transparent recruitment procedures, where at least 40% of non-executive director positions or 33% of all director positions will need to be occupied by women by the end of June 2026. And the legislation was passed on Tuesday, 22nd. And that also shows how long process that was, and also how big effort was taken, which happened during also the presidency of Ursula von der Leyen, a decade after the initial proposal was presented to the EU. So from here, I would like to cordially, in my name, but maybe other emerging leaders, women, thank Ursula von der Leyen for completing this process, legislation process, which takes really long time, a decade, and bring finally legislation in a way to strengthen women and empower women leadership. So I'm really happy. However, what I could maybe share shortly, I looked at the Twitter, and as you know, Twitter is one of the social media basically channels where mainly politicians and social leaders comment on events which are happening in the world. But this is a channel which is used many times by politicians. And personally, what I didn't like when she actually tweeted this message on the Twitter, There was like 638 reactions, and some reactions were positive, but what I was actually overwhelmed in negative way, there was a lot of reactions from men, which were very chauvinistic, directly actually diminishing what has just happened. And this kind of behavior, I don't really understand. I think you should, if you are a man which doesn't like women, don't take part in a public discussion, because we are both part of society. And I think directly diminishing somebody personally, it's simply not professional. And if you don't have something to say, which would be constructive, or being constructive critics, don't. That's the message to all men chauvinists, which are against women, which are against women leadership, also role of women in society, also political role, business role. Please don't try to actually diminish the impact of this legislation. And that's something which I like to actually directly say here in this vlog, because this is a very big positive event, not only event, political event, but the milestone which will affect future of many, many women in very positive, empowering way. So that's something which I'd like to bring a little bit here, besides the great, huge impact which has been made. So what this exactly means in terms of a process. As I told you, this process has been, initial proposal has been presented to the EU Parliament 10 years ago. However, I also was quite curious about what has been actually happening also in literature regarding this proposal. And I found actually a very interesting article by René Adams and Daniel Ferreira. René from business school in Australia, Queensland, University of Queensland, and Daniel Ferreira from London School of Economics and Political Sciences in UK. That indeed there have been already, based on many studies, a process described for the women in the boardroom and their impact on governance and performance. And I have to say that this was not just one percentage which has been given. There have been in the past already indications that this process already started a long time ago. This review is from 2009, and there already been worldwide a pressure, also pressure of society, but also pressure in business ecosystems on bringing more women to this boardroom, to these tables, which can have impact on governance and education and business. So that is something which I cannot mention all the women involved in this process. I think that would be really probably a huge numbers of studies I had to go through. But there's been an action of many women, which I call multipliers, which were contributing to this process. So that's one hint I'd like to bring you. The other hint is that, as I said, if you look at the percentages of women on the boards of largest publicly listed companies in EU member states. And in Leiden Bioscience Park, I think one of the companies, I think largest is Galapagos, set up by Onno van der Stolpe in clinical trials niche or sector. So that's the company which has been still and is still led by a new CEO, which is a man. However, I could not get the more info about how many women is taking, actually, what is the percentage of women taking part of the board of Galapagos, but maybe later I will find out. But importantly, this percentage, if you think of the women on the boards of largest publicly listed companies in EU, varies very much per country. And I was very happy that actually France is the first place, taking 45.3, and Netherlands is around 38%. So actually, that's already quite well going with the Netherlands if it comes to business ecosystem. Poland is closer to average, so there's more room for improvement. But interestingly, if you look at other countries, Romania, Hungary, Estonia, so the countries where there is still a lot of male leadership happening, they represent below 10%. Women taking positions in the boards. I think there is the most place to improve. But as you can see, there is a big distortion, and that also can be related to political system, but also to business ecosystem, and definitely culture, work culture, where in Netherlands very known for women which have rather equal rights. It's a liberal country in positive way, where people have freedom really of speech, no matter what religion or gender they have. So there's a big tolerance and big respect for all different nationalities, but also for the gender. Whereas in other countries, this, as you can see, might be different. And that actually, this societal culture, work culture, may have huge influence also on percentage of women on the boards. But since we are in EU, I hope that also Hungary will pick up in the future, and other countries, so that this can be more equalized. So that's one of the wishes which I would name for the better future of this of our world, because this is all ours, and we have to really make sure that we all have equal rights and there is no gender gap, and the inclusion, which became such strong movement, can lead to equal women rights also in leadership. So this is the way I would imagine commenting this, and taking perspective also of Dutch Female Board Index, which I told the Netherlands is on the third place in terms of shares of women on board. Professor Dr. Mantje Lukerath Rovers, which I like to, as I said, dedicate also this vlog, prepared beautiful, very detailed Dutch Female Board Index. And this is a document which gives full report on female leadership of the in Netherlands, in Dutch ecosystem, Dutch business ecosystem. It importantly, without too much commenting here on this numbers, because that could be very much maybe not to interest to everybody, but there is a growing trend in Netherlands, in Dutch business ecosystem, to strengthen positions of women in large companies, especially NV companies, Dutch NV companies, meaning the ones which can actually are on stock market, so they have registered shares, which are also transferable. So by telling you more about this trend, I'd like to give what you can see on this graph, percentage, how this was changing from 2005 to 2022 for female executive, which is gray solid line, and female non-executives, female executives representing CEOs, obviously, but also female non-executives. And you can see that if you look at the year 2005, and now you can compare it for female executive, the percentage is relatively, I would say, yeah, slowly increasing. And we are here in 2022, so it's 15%, but the trend is positive. It's increasing by 25%. So that's, I think, very good indication that things going forward in good direction. While we look at female non-executive, the situation is already way better because it started to grow, I would say, much more exponentially around 2000, I would say 14, from also very low percentage, 6%. And it grows now to 27. Actually, it is meant to reach in 2024 around 50%. So I think this EU directive may really make sure that this trend really represents a true direction for all the women in leadership position on the boards. So I'm really happy that I am functioning in Dutch business ecosystem because I see strong movements towards improving roles of women in the boards of director, their impact in governance. And I think that's really great if you are in this ecosystem, in this growing ecosystem for female emerging leaders. Because what you cannot forget is that if you are in not correct environment, you will be never able to grow, especially as a woman executive. So you need to be in right environment. You need to be in right country to be able to excel your full potential to become, I would say, fully mature female leader. And the last table from the report of Professor Mintje Lukerach-Rovers, I'd like to show you here. She listed it actually top 15 companies with female directors. There's a very long list, but in this list, there are 89 companies are ranked based on the percentage of women appointed to the combined executive and supervisory board. And indeed, what I was very happy that among companies which are not representing biotech on second actually place regarding percentage of female directors in 2022, but also non-executive is DSM, is biotech Dutch company. So I'm really grateful to it. And I think with Edith Schippers, which is CEO, we can be very inspired here in Dutch ecosystem by DSM, but also by their development as the company in bringing women to the table. So I'm really happy that this percentage is above all the other graphs or tables which I presented to you. And hopefully this also will grow in the future for other Dutch biotech companies. So I think from a perspective and looking at this table, I think I feel more empowered if it comes to percentages, because they're even exceeding the percentages suggested by Ursula von der Leyen already in 2022. So I think we should be really proud of DSM, and I'm very proud of DSM. So that's something which I'd like to share with you. And I would really like to thank here from here also Edith Schippers, which is also in my LinkedIn network, cordially to really develop successful leadership and giving great example as a female leader in Dutch ecosystem, business ecosystem, but also for other companies in Netherlands. So thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy this vlog, especially all the women which think like, I want to set my company, Women in STEM. Please start thinking about this, do research, do your homework, prepare yourself, and start doing it in Netherlands, because that's definitely a country which serves women. And women also which are emerging leaders or want to fully mature and get impact through their leadership. Thank you very much. See you next time.